and we are live with another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside by Andrew Johnson. And Andrew, the World Series has finally been concluded. We have our champion of Major League Baseball, and it's a first-time champion, as the Texas Rangers have won their first World Series championship. They defeated the Arizona Diamondbacks in 5 games, and they now become one of 3 teams in MLB history to go from 100 losses to a World Series championship in just a 2-year span. So congratulations to Texas, and Creed was certainly playing to the all highest of heavens after this past week.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer franchise. They should have won about 12 years ago when they first made the World Series, but this leaves only only 5 teams now to never win the World Series.
Right.
So where do these other franchises go now?
Well, I was gonna ask you, do you know who the 5 teams are that have not won the World Series championship?
I believe it is the Mariners is one of them.
Mariners are one.
Twins? No.
Nope, the Twins have won a
No, the
championship.
Twins have a championship. I know the Mariners are one. Let me think. Okay, this might be a little difficult.
You usually are the one that gives me the trivia. I try to spin it
Let me
around
think.
on you this time.
Mariners are one. Rays never won one.
The Rays are 2.
Rays are 2. Tigers have one. White Sox have one. Royals have one. The A's have one. Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, Phillies, Marlins, Diamondbacks, Cubs have one. This is tough. Rockies.
The Rockies are 1.
All right, so I have 3. Blue Jays.
Blue Jays have 1.
They've won. They've
won a championship. Yep.
So Rockies and Blue Jays have won a championship.
The Rockies have not won a championship.
Okay, so I do have 3. Okay.
You have 3.
Cardinals have one.
I think you said 1 also when you were going through the teams.
Oh, so I missed one. Okay.
It was someone. There was one team that you said that I didn't pick up on. You have Tampa, Seattle, and Colorado.
Oh boy, man, this is tough.
I'll give you a hint. They're both in the National League.
Well, that helps a little bit. Let me take a look at the National League now.
You definitely said one of them. The other team you didn't get to yet.
Does Cincy have one? No,
Cincinnati
they do.
Does.
They do under Marge Stott, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
Pete Rose teams.
Jeez. The Padres have one?
The Padres do not have a championship. That's number 4.
It's 4.
And then the last team you did say, I didn't pick it up.
Was it the Phillies?
No, the Phillies won in
yeah, I was
08.
about to say. They definitely won like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Pirates?
No, but in that division.
In that division, so it's in the Central? Yep. Is it the it's gotta be the Brewers then.
It is the Milwaukee Brewers. You did say that. It was the Brewers. I thought they had won, but I had to fact check it. They did not. So
it took me a little bit longer than I expected, but okay, not bad.
So Tampa, Seattle, San Diego, Milwaukee, and Colorado are now the only 5 teams that have not won a World Series championship in their franchise's history. The Rangers were one of those teams originally, but as we mentioned, they have now finally won their first World Championship. And this, as you mentioned, comes after 12 years when they lost that heartbreaking World Series to the Cardinals, in which David Freese had that unbelievable triple in the 9th inning to tie the game, had to walk off in the 11th inning to win it, and then they lost Game 7 the day after. And they now go from that, a lot of heartbreak and tough times going from that year. As I mentioned, 2 years ago, they lost 100-plus games. And the same thing went for the Arizona Diamondbacks, which is a team that also lost 100 games 2 years ago. And the Rangers, they win a thrilling series, in which Game 1, probably one of the more thrilling ends to a game. Corey Seager hits a game-tying 2-run homer in the 9th inning. Adolis Garcia continues his monster postseason with a walk-off in the 11th to give them that Game 1 win. Then in Game 2, the Rangers would fall to Merrill Kelly, who pitched a great game for them in that one. They won 9-1. Game 3, the Rangers would go to Arizona. And remember, they had been the road warriors all season. They had, haven't lost a road game all year. It continued in this series. They would go into Game 3, win that one thanks to Corey Seager 2-run homer. They won 3-1. Game 4 on Halloween, they would win 11-7 on a 5 RBI night from Marcus Semien. Corey Seager hit another home run in that game as well. And that was despite the fact that they lost Adolis Garcia in this game. They also lost Max Scherzer to an injury. So both of them were not available for the rest of the series going into game number 5. But thankfully for them, they were able to win game number 5. Zach Gallen, give him all his credit. He had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning, lost the no-hitter, and unfortunately lost the game as Nate Eovaldi pitches a shutout. Bullpen did their job. Rangers win game 5 by a final of 5-0. As I mentioned, they win their first World Championship. And unfortunately for Arizona, last team into the playoffs, got all the way here, really put up a good fight, but unfortunately the Rangers were just too much overpowering for them. And they now have to go into the offseason wondering, can they get back here to this point in the season?
A couple things I do want to mention. Adolis Garcia set the record for most RBIs in a single postseason at 22 before he went down, and Ketel Marte set the longest postseason hitting streak at 18 games. So
Yep.
historic notes for both the Rangers and the Diamondbacks in this series. And we really thought after the first 2 games this was going to be a series of the ages. Still had some really great moments. It was a lot closer than it seemed on paper. Uh, Obviously, you had the blowout in game 2 in favor of the Diamondbacks. Um, Rangers won a squeaker in game run by a run. Then they win by 2. And you know it's actually kind of funny.
But
The run differential going into game 5 between, even though they're down 3-1, was like non. It wasn't even like significant because they had such a dominant game too. The run differential going into that final game, that elimination game, was flat. It was even between both teams.
yeah,
So kind of crazy when you think about it. They kind of used all the people say, "Oh, you used all your offense in one game." It could have been the case this time around, but uh, you have to tip your cap to the Texas Rangers. You see all the videos of their fans that have been, fans since the beginning, since the 1970s, since they moved to Texas, and they're buying into the franchise, and to see that payoff is just it's great to see. It's great for the sport.
yeah, and I believe the Rangers in this entire postseason they go 11-0 on the road, or maybe 12-0. I don't remember the exact record off the top of my head, but they
I believe
won
it's 12-0.
they won every single road game this entire postseason, and that is insane. I think they're the only team that has
Ever
done
do it?
that in a postseason. So kudos to them, and kudos to Bruce Bochy because he gets another World Series championship, his now 4th as a manager. He won 3 with the San Francisco Giants. Obviously took that a little bit of hiatus after the Giants let him go. Chris Young, the GM of the Rangers, called him up, got him off of his couch in Nashville, and got him to coach this team this season. In his first year with the team, gets him to a World Series championship. A Hall of Fame caliber career for Bochy now adds to his legacy with the 4th World Series championship. But he was not the only one that added to a potential Hall of Fame career. How about Corey Seager in this one, Johnson? 3 home runs in the series. He had 6 RBIs as well, a 1.137 OPS as well in the series. I mentioned the game tying home run in game 1. Had a home run that was the clincher in game 3, a home run in game 4 as well. And he wins his 2nd World Series MVP. He won one with the Dodgers in 2020. Now just the 4th player in World Series history to win multiple World Series MVP trophies alongside of Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, and Reggie Jackson. And
And
he's only the 2nd player to win the award for 2 different teams along with Reggie Jackson.
but he's the only one to do it in back to back. Did he do back to back?
No, the Dodgers won in 2020.
Okay, I thought he was. For some reason I thought he won back to back, but he won
No.
that COVID ring. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he's the only one that's done alongside Reggie Jackson because Jackson won the World Series MVP with Oakland and the Yankees, obviously. Seager did it with the Dodgers in 2020. Now he does it here with the Texas Rangers. And all this movement and spending for Texas finally comes unfolding for them, winning that World Series championship. They finally can, breathe, a sigh of relief after all these years of heartache and tough endings to seasons. It looked like this season was going to happen the same the way they ended the regular season, in which they had a chance to win the division but lost to the Mariners. And now they go into this offseason where they will have some free agents that they'll have to try to bring back to potentially win another championship. But they can at least celebrate this moment in time now being finally a World Series champion.
It does feel good for the Texas Rangers. Uh, but do you want to go into the recent news we've been hearing? I know this is a World Series special, but there's some postseason news going on right now. Not really postseason, but way too early free agency and way too early, I guess, news for the next season.
Well, yeah, on Monday there was two big managerial hires that went down, both in the National League for teams that, for one team, had a chance to make the postseason and just faltered at the end, and for a team that had World Series expectations going into the year, but it just all fell flat. So going into Monday, the New York Mets were looking to hire Craig Counsell to be their new manager of the club. Counsell was said to be between the Mets and another team. Um, that other team won because it was not the New York Mets that he got hired by. We'll talk about that in a second. So the Mets went with their backup plan, and they go with Carlos Mendoza, who was the bench coach for the New York Yankees this past season. He is now the new manager of the New York Mets. So he's going to go into this quote unquote maybe rebuild. Who knows what they do from here? But they have some money to spend this offseason now after getting rid of some contracts this past year. They now will look to try to fix all the mistakes that happened this past season with them and try to get back into the playoffs after a disastrous 2023.
Oh man, how do I add to that? I feel like you kind of summarized everything perfectly.
Um, you could add, I mean, there's a soundbite you could play.
Ah, that's a great idea. You mean this soundbite?
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets.
I don't want to say like it's fair to play that, but I think it's because of this was not the guy they wanted to be their manager.
All I'm gonna say is the richest owner in sports got outbid by a notorious cheap ownership group. All I'm gonna say.
Well, you talked about getting outbid. How about the Chicago Cubs? They were the mystery team that got Craig Counsell. So Craig Counsell, the manager of the Brewers, going staying in the division, now going a division rival and going to the Chicago Cubs, and he got paid a lot of money, a record-setting 5-year, $40 million deal with the Cubs. He is now the new manager of the team. David Ross, after a tough end of the season in which they missed the playoffs, has been fired as the manager, and now we now see where Craig Counsell can go with this team. They're going to be looking to be big-time players in free agency. They're a team that maybe look out for Shohei Ohtani, I think, in my opinion. And they have some key free agents as well, Cody Bellinger being the biggest one of them all. But now we have to see where the Cubs go from here. I think this was a stutter to me because I did not expect Craig Counsell to be going to
Well,
the
it does
Cubs.
it does make sense. He gets to stay home to his home state. He gets to stay close to his
Right.
home state. His lifestyle doesn't have to change that much, and he goes to a much better team on paper. You have such if they can retain them, of course, because they have to retain Cody Bellinger, they have to retain Ian Happ, and they have to retain the pitching, the hitting, because they're so close to making the next step. And I feel like just adding him as a manager, he's worth 5 to 10 wins on the season. So I think if he was the manager for the Cubs this season, they probably get 90 wins. Is that a fair analysis?
I mean, he got the Brewers to a couple of division titles, so he has been a proven commodity in the managerial world, and that's why the Mets were hoping to get him to be their manager because they were looking for a guy that has proven his worth. Even though Buck Showalter has done it before, but it's been a while since he's done it. But yeah, this is to me. I understand the move for the Cubs. I just didn't expect it. I thought maybe they would keep David Ross, even though they had the tough end of the year. I didn't think the Cubs were one of those teams that was looking at a manager because they weren't realistically in the news for being in the managerial market these past couple weeks.
Yeah, no, it definitely. He didn't even get his walking papers before they hired the guy, so I do feel bad that he was blindsided like this because clearly, he this is a stunner to everyone, and it's a shame that he had to go down like this. But they do get a hell of an upgrade at manager. No offense to him.
No, it's definitely the right terminology. He definitely is an upgraded manager because he's proven it before. David Ross is more of like a player's manager, and he was doing good for the most part this season with the Cubs. A season which not a lot of people expected them to be in the playoff mix, but the way they ended the season really did him in, and unfortunately cost him his job.
And
But
only time will tell where he will end up and land.
right, and only time's going to tell now, Johnson. I mean, obviously, free agency is started as of 2 days ago. Talk about some of the big free agents in the world of baseball before we wrap up today's show. But we have to look at some of the early on odds for next season's World Series. I mean, kind of a couple teams that we expect to be up there. in odds making wise, but there could be a big shakeup depending on how this entire free agency goes. Is there anything really, noteworthy that you're looking at going into next season when it comes to free agency that you could see one of these World Series favorited teams like maybe the Braves or the Dodgers or even the Texas Rangers trying to get back into that World Series picture? Or do you expect a team that we don't see right now to make a big time splash in free agency, be like, oh, this might be the team that I have to look out for going into this next season? Because obviously it's too tough to tell
Here's,
right now
here's,
with
a,
no moves being made.
here's a bold prediction, and it's going to answer both of them, actually. So not only is a team that we didn't expect to make the postseason going to be there in the World Series, again, they were in this postseason, but they're going to land, I think, the prize of free agency. I think not only are the Texas Rangers going to go back to the World Series, they're going to land Shohei Ohtani in the process.
You think they're going to get Ohtani?
He's linked to them. He's linked because Texas. It's not. I know he wants to stay West Coast, but he's linked to the Texas Rangers right now by
He
all
does love
reports I've
that
seen.
ballpark. I've seen him hit a lot of home runs in Arlington.
So he's linked not only to the Texas Rangers organization, but there's rumors now that he's actually he's bearing his top three right now. So I could see them not only getting Shohei Ohtani, which would be a cool in itself, but going back to the World Series because they were proven that they're going to take what it takes to win, and it would be kind of crazy to have. Imagine a rotation if they were fully healthy of Ohtani, Verlander, and Scherzer. I'm sorry, and Degrom.
Right.
It would be kind of nuts to see that, but that's my bold prediction.
See, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, listen, it's tough to say what our World Series odds could be because free agency could easily impact any of this, especially when you have a guy like Shohei Ohtani on the list, who obviously won't be pitching this upcoming season. He'll be just hitting strictly. But in 2 years' time, we'll be back to doing it both. And he's not the only big name free agent this offseason. Cody Bellinger had a monster year with the Cubs. He's going to be a hot commodity. You have veterans like JD Martinez up there, Matt Chapman, Soler for the Marlins, Luis Gurriel, Teoscar Hernandez, Reese Hoskins, Whit Merrifield. Those are just some of the big name hitters in this upcoming free agency class. And then you look at the pitching. You have Ohtani, as I mentioned. Blake Snell, who was a Cy Young candidate, is up. Aaron Nola has proven his worth in the postseason before. A big-time closer in Josh Hader. Sonny Gray was up for Cy Young in the AL. Jordan Montgomery had a monster postseason for the Rangers. He's been rumored to be potentially going to the Red Sox right now. Eduardo Rodriguez was a big, name at the trade deadline. Did not get traded. Now he's a free agent. And Lucas Giolito, we saw him get traded at the deadline. Obviously did not work out for the Angels, but he's going to be a pitcher that, some teams might look at in this postseason, as well as Yamamoto from the Japanese league. So there is a lot of, free agents to go around this upcoming offseason. And it could lead to some of these World Series favorites to potentially boost their odds or boost the odds of another team that we're not talking about right now. So we'll have to see how all goes. But overall, when it looks down to it, is there anything you're looking forward to? Is the Ohtani prediction? Do you have any other predictions you have for free agency? Because we'll talk about the MLB free agency in the next couple of weeks. But do you have another big time prediction for where one of these top free agents go?
I'm gonna say, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. Maybe Cody Bellinger is gonna be a Dodger again.
Do you think he goes back?
You think he? I mean, he could go back.
That's if they have. I mean, they have. I have to know. I don't even know if they have the money. They probably could try to work something out.
Listen. If they have the money for to get Ohtani, they're the number one team to get Ohtani. They have the money to get Bellinger. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I forgot to mention one thing. Also, Juan Soto could be a trade candidate this offseason too. So that's another name to look out for.
And I could see Jordan Montgomery going up to Boston. By the way.
Yeah, the rumor is right now he's been talking with the Red Sox, so there is a possibility he could be on the Red Sox radar. I would hate to see that as a Yankee fan because he had some good years with the Yankees, but
Yeah, that would be horrific for you guys. So I hope it doesn't happen for your sake.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, but I think this is going to be an interesting offseason. I think a lot is going to unfold. Ohtani being the biggest fish in the market, it's all going to come down to where he goes. It doesn't seem like the Angels are a possibility at this rate. I would think that The Rangers are probably a possibility. I've heard the Mariners a couple times. I heard the Cubs are going to be looking to go after him now, even more, especially after this Craig Counsell hire. And maybe there's a team that we haven't heard of yet that is going to is going to try to make a splash to try to get him in this upcoming offseason. But other than that, is there anything else you would like to talk about before we wrap up today's show?
It's sad that baseball is over, but I'm looking forward to a prosperous offseason and hopefully another postseason berth for my Marlins, and hopefully your Yankees get there as well.
I have no faith after what Brian Cashman said yesterday, so
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But all I'm going to say is, from my final remarks, is if Ohtani signs with the Dodgers, I probably will not sign. I probably won't watch baseball this upcoming season.
All right, so I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I hope so too. But overall, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers on winning their first World Series championship. Can they get back there this next season? We'll have to see. If they get Shohei Ohtani, then they really have a good opportunity to do so. But we will break down any big-time free agency moves in the next couple of weeks here on the All Gas No Break Sports Show as we look to see who can boost up their odds going into this 2024 season and winning a World Series championship just like the Texas Rangers. This has been Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside by Andrew Johnson with the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week.